when I'm gone, and we miss you. I've been personally called the local crusader, and I teased you once because I found a missing semicolon when you...
Not too many people know the semicolon, so I congratulate you for that.
That was me. Mark Mays was really starting to make some new, things
Yes.
with the shoes. We have really lost a valuable service. I mean, I feel like we're cut off at the knees. Is there any way that we can say we need this function because we don't have a voice anymore with the newspaper? I used Mark Mays as a threat once. I mean, it's, who do we have?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea?
I completely agree with you. I regret the fact that there is nobody there doing that. When I left, the publisher assured me that they were committed to that feature of the paper, having somebody to be the voice of the people who are often voiceless, and especially against a big bureaucracy or a big corporation. And all I can say is, petition the paper, write letters, and demand it. And I think if you get enough people demanding it, they'll listen. But I do agree that it's something that needs to be done. Yes.
I'm so glad that you are doing guest columns in the paper. I cherish the fact that we still have you at arm's length, but within reach.
Oh, thank you very much.
Your love of your family is extraordinary.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The notice in the City Pulse about this meeting said that someone on the panel was going to tell a Mark Twain story.
Kurt here knows about Mark Twain, just in the audience here. Kurt, but I don't think anyone here was going to tell Mark Twain's story, right? But he was telling me ahead of time that the State Journal once, is that right, reprinted the entire speech of Mark Twain, and Twain was furious about it. Because, if you can imagine someone taking your entire speech that you're going to be in a book and printing it entirely in the State Journal. So I guess that's a Mark Twain story. Okay. Anyway, ask Kurt about it later.
Yes, sir.
I believe it was his talk about his grandfather's old ram. It was the source for Howell Holbrook's dramatization.
Okay.
He took it from the Lansing State Republic.
Back here, Harry.
Yes, as a board member of the Lansing Historical Society, I find it interesting to go back and look at some of the previous issues of the journal. One is missing. I believe it's September 1st, 1924.
What'd you do
What
with
did you take
it?
that one? Yeah.
It's on Jim. Jim used it to line a birdcage.
That's right.
Every single collection. The microfiche, the microfilm.
Okay.
What day was your typo?
Well, the reason I asked is because it's reported that there were a number of names in the article on the front page on the Ku Klux Klan. And that obviously somebody in the executive decided to pull the issue.
Very interesting.
What was the date?
September 1? September 1st, 1924. I was said.
I couldn't hear you very well. A number of names that what?
Were either active or supporting members of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh.
We do have a new history feature in the State Journal now. I don't know if you've seen it. And I'm just going to ask the person who's pulling those to go and take a look at the microfilm for those days. And
You can't find it.
I will, we'll just see if we can verify that.
We have an archivist here. Right here.
Oh, Lori, you're here. Are you writing this down?
I believe I've got my date right.
The journal used to have an extensive clipping file alphabetically by subject, and it was a treasure trove.
Somebody threw it away.
No, it's all there. It's downstairs. It ended in 1990, I believe. They switched to digital, yeah. But downstairs in the basement, there's still, wonderful clips of everything. You just gotta go down there. It's a little scary down there.
Disastrous.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I think some of you are aware that we are eventually, sometime in the not too distant future, going to be moving to a smaller site because our building is too large. We don't need the space for the printing presses or the various other departments that we used to have. So I think right now we're trying to figure out what is going to happen to some of those archival photos and clippings as we move forward. And I don't think any decisions have been made on that, but that is certainly something that I am hoping that we are able to preserve for people.
They were literally going to throw those photos away, and we told them, please don't. I mean, this is like John Peaks and William Hurt and Phil Held as young actors at Boar's Head Theater. This is like Dana Delaney went on to win 2 Emmys, lying down as a vampire's victim at the Augusta Barn Theater. Tom Wopat, as a kid of 20 years old from Wisconsin, being surrounded by people in Guys and Dolls. I mean, you don't want to throw away those pictures like that. Peter Reckel with a little choir boy look when he was in Okemos High School. So that stuff's valuable. I hope something good happens to it anyway.
One more, Angie.
Yes, any comments, Marcia, on the great snowstorm of '67?
Right. Speaking of stories we've covered in...
we covered from that huge storm as compared to the ice storm.
Having just survived the winter of, 2014, in 1967, we had what I still regard as one of the major storms of all time in this area. We were snowed in. The city was almost, I would say literally, closed down for days. You could not get out of your driveway. If you could, you couldn't get down the street. No one could move. Police and fire had a horrible time. Everybody was told to stay home. But we were told we had to get out the newspaper. And we said, right, because everybody needed the information. It was so important that we publish. We had to publish. Somebody, of course, right away said, we can't publish. We can't even get there. And no, we're publishing. We got on the phone. We did phone calls. Some of the folks got in literally by skiing down some of our major streets and got in. And we put out a series of newspapers, particularly over a long weekend, that everybody says to this day were some of the best newspapers we ever did. The only issue was we couldn't get them out to anybody. Down the street in the circulation trucks, and nobody could read them, so we stacked them in the basement of the State Journal for a few days, and when we could, then we delivered a whole package of here's your storm coverage. And Angie, did you bring these? Yeah, excellent. Here they are, and I thought of that. Again, we didn't quite have this winter quite this bad. But I thought of all the experiences in the Journal, that was one of the key ones.
Marcia, I could tell you that when that storm was 20-some inches of snow, and because I was a kid from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where when you have that much snow, you just get up and go to work. Well, I got my snowshoes on, and I got out. I lived in Colonial Village, and I got out to Mount Hope and caught an army truck there. It took me down to the State Journal. When I got there, the place was locked. I had to go next door to the bus station to get shelter. Anyway, we were in there, and Kurt Haynes got locked in the City Hall. He was covering City Hall, and he would call and dictate stories to me. We were putting out stories that we're never going to get delivered. But when it was all over with, Louis Weil asked me to come into his office, and he said, I heard about you getting to work, and he said, I want you to know that your paycheck is going to be $400 deeper next week, but he said, I want you to make me a list of the others who came to work. And everybody, even though that paper didn't get delivered to people, everybody who was in there and participated got a bonus from Louis Weil for that. That was pretty cool of him.